This time on Watchers of Tomorrow, kill the patient!
Hello, welcome to Watchers of Tomorrow, the sci-fi review and critique show that is more than what it seems, or less, or something else, or just exists in a different plane of existence that you cannot comprehend, something in that range. I am Gepwin, and I'm joined as always by my friend and co-host Dr. Isix.
Hi!
And this week, I'm going to say the name of the episode first because I always get it wrong because it's French. And if you listened to a couple episodes back, you remember how I feel about French.
Complicated, to put it. Yeah.
This is the Dauphin, which my literal entire life until last week when I had to actually look at this episode name, I thought was the Dolphin.
Well, I believe there's some relation there technically, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's French.
So yeah, the Dauphin.
Which is a reference to the, I guess, the coat of arms or symbol for the heir of the throne of France.
Yeah, it's the title for the heir apparent of France between 15 something and something something. It's. I looked it up before, but
yeah. Well, they kind of retired it for a while during the whole revolution thing, in the late 1700s. They brought it back for a little bit, but then it's like, oh, hello, I'm Napoleon III. Yeah. Surprise. And yeah.
So it's about an heir apparent is the main thing that we got. So this is one of those ones that you kind of remember because it's the Wesley Crush episode.
The Wesley Crusher Crush episode.
So great. Yeah, it's not the best, but it's there. It's somewhat memorable.
Yeah, there is technically another Wesley Crusher Crush episode, but it's more of a we're kind of crushing, but we're getting pulled into a weird plot. Oh no!
Yeah. I mean, this is also strange. Yeah. This plot doesn't make a ton of sense, as we will see. And there's some. I don't want to talk about this episode. I'm stalling because there's some interpretations that one could have that I don't want to have to talk about.
Well, don't worry, Gepwin. I have a strong feeling I know what the interpretations you're talking about there, and I also have a different one. So that if we need to change gears, I got you covered.
Okay, good.
It's not a good one, but
So this episode was written by Scott Rubinstein and Leonard Mlodinow. I'm sorry. Both of us were trying to figure out how to pronounce this name. It starts with an ML, which as far as I know is unpronounceable in English.
It's like Mlodinow or Mludinow.
Yeah, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them were pretty well-known TV writers. Rubinstein was known for TV writing and story editing. Worked on series like Night Court and MacGyver, and several Next Generation episodes.
Yeah. Was also involved in the Outrageous Okana.
Yep.
As a story editor. But I believe this is the only one he actually wrote, so.
All that stuff. And then Mlodinow, however I'm deciding to pronounce that.
Leonard. We'll call him Leonard.
Good old Lenny. My man Lenny. Yeah, he is a bit more interesting because he was known very well as a theoretical physics who worked on large N expansion, which I need. Help? What is this?
Large N expansion?
Yes.
There's a couple of things I'm thinking of with that, so I'll give you a minute. Well, there's N's as in a series of mathematics here where you got an infinite series. And you go to a large, N value to, at the end of your series. And
okay, I mean, that I know from math. Wait, there's a link here. Large N expansion is a quantum field theory and statistical mathematics.
So in terms of, sort of that infinite series mode, though, you can also have in quantum, field theory, sort of pictures of quantum interactions where you have sort of the main interactions where you got, say, an electron bouncing off another electron. And between the two, there's an exchange of photons to carry the momentum from one to the other. But in quantum field theory, it's suggested that you could have a situation where, there's this photon going between them, but what does the photon do between those 2 points? it could spawn, say, a matter-antimatter particle that then self-annihilates and then recreates the original photon to interact. Now, was those those two new particles doing in between point A and point B? Well, you could then have them interacting in some way, or they could interact with themselves even, or those original electrons could interact with themselves. And you start adding these sort of sub-operations between point A and point B in this interaction. And so you could have conceivably a very large number of things that have technically happened inside, these two particles bouncing off each other. And so suddenly you got all this stuff here, and where do you end? Where do you cut it off? Tell us, Gepwin.
I don't know. I don't know why you all sit around and think it's like, well, what if this photon did some inexplicably weird shit that doesn't make any sense? It's like, I don't know.
Well, the thing is, it does make sense, and that's the problem. Because you have this interaction happening within a small slice of time and space, but all the stuff that could possibly happen there is copious in nature, and so there's sort of a combination of where you just keep adding up terms here, and each one has a minute possibility of happening, but there's certain ways of sort of doing this where you could conceivably have an infinite number of these terms, and suddenly you have an infinite, energy thing running away here, or you got your weird interactions suddenly causing all sorts of things that should be, breaking everything we know about physics. So, in terms of, matter is stable, and so you have to sort of cut it off at some point here. But where you cut it off, or you can alternatively have sort of, the infinite series, but you're going to have a sort of fudge term to just sort of undo certain amounts of it or something like that, a dampening or something like that. And so you have to sort of think about these things when you're doing these large, particle, interaction sort of pictures here. Otherwise, you're going to get answers that are actually measurably wrong. So
okay, so it's the quantum it's the quantum physics version of rounding,
kind of. So where do you cut it off, Gepwin? We need to know.
Well, right now, because after doing that, he wrote a bunch of books and wrote for popular shows like MacGyver, as like the other dude did, and wrote some computer games with Steven Spielberg and Robin Williams, and worked on a movie called Beyond the Horizon, which got very terrible reviews, apparently.
Beyond the Horizon, writer, it's apparently about Stephen Hawking, I guess. As a 20-something reporter assigned to the religion beat of London Times, it's on a deadline to write a feature story about the cosmology and the meaning of existence of the 100th anniversary of Einstein's proposal of special theory of relativity.
Cool. We also got too many guest stars, but I'm only talking about two of them.
Yes.
So, Jamie Hubbard plays Celia. She had minor roles in movies and TV shows like Hitchhikers, Ellen, The Platypus Man.
Oh dear. Yeah, it didn't get much for her after The Platypus Man. Which I guess maybe is a bad thing.
Yeah, she later became a psychotherapist, so I guess The Platypus Man didn't work out very well for the acting thing. Also, again, this is another time that they brought in a love interest for Wesley. And for some, they keep doing this. She is 10 years older than him.
Whoops.
They keep doing this. It's weird how many times they do this with Wesley.
Yeah, there is, a general thing that they do in a lot of, film and TV productions where you have someone who is in their 20s or even 30s who's playing a teenager. And, for the most part, that kind of works. But when you're actually having them going, alongside another teenager in a scene, you can get a little weird.
Yeah, when you're interacting with the other teenager. The reason that they do that consistently on TV shows is so your actors don't visibly age the way that a teenage actor would over the course of a couple seasons of television, which isn't a problem with one-off characters. But also, it's because there's actual federal restrictions on how much intimacy you can show teenage actors having on screen. So Indeed. You have to have 20-year-olds playing high school students if you want there to be any kind of physical intimacy in your TV show.
Otherwise it's like, well, you can kind of get away with a lot just by saying that they're actors. And yeah, they're like, no, that's not That's not cool.
So the other main guest star in here is Patty Edwards playing Anna. She began acting in the 60s and worked until her death in 1999. Well known for voicing a number of Disney movies. She voiced Flotsam and Jetsam in The Little Mermaid, which I don't know who voices them in the remake or if they even exist.
Also in Phantom 2040.
And Atropos, one of the Fates in Hercules. The lab computer in Brave Little Toaster to the Rescue, and the satellite in Brave Little Toaster Goes to Mars.
Wait a moment. The computer's stalking the Brave Little Toaster.
And then her final voice role was in the extremely goofy movie, where she played a receptionist.
Yes, sort of, I guess, contemporary with that. She was also involved in something called Pepper Ann, but similar sort of release times there. The series was going on before then, so yeah, goofy movie.
That's all the things. That's all the things.
But she was also in Voyagers, and Chris Counselor and Trapper John MD and the other stuff that we used to talk about a lot in the original series.
Yeah, because she was acting during that period, though she didn't wind up on the original series. Probably would have if it had kept going.
Maybe in the In Truth No Beauty episode, then it could be a reunion.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right, so we're here. We're at the story. There's some themes. There's some unfortunate themes. They're relevant to our times. Pay attention. You might spot one. All right. So the Enterprise has arrived at Klavda 3, which is a miserable little planet with all kinds of uninhabitable gases and such.
Crazy ionosphere causing all the usual ionosphere problems.
But it is incredibly secure, and it's where the people of Delid 4 send their future leader for 16 years so that they can be raised in seclusion and safety. But now it's time for them to return home, and they got the Enterprise to schlep this person along, because it seems to be mostly what the Federation is for.
Yes. Hey, Federation, you're all about, peace and stuff, right? We want to have peace, so can we get a ride?
Yeah. This is going to take a bit, though, because timing, LaForge... he has to make some adjustments to the lithium control circuit, so they have to turn off the warp engines when they have to do this whole "we're escorting a dignitary somewhere" thing.
Yes. Couldn't have waited number of hours.
Nope.
Yep.
And he's being assisted by Wesley, who runs out to grab some sort of super magnet or something.
Super duper electromagnet.
They contact the planet, and they're only allowed to do audio, probably because of the interference or some such. And they ask what species they are before coming on board. Suspicious. Possibly.
Weird. No one does that. What's going on?
So Picard, Riker, and Worf welcome Celia, who's a young woman and future leader, and her chaperone Anya. Picard tries to be nice and arrange a ship tour, but Anya shuts it down immediately and says, "No, we're going to the quarters where it's safe. No wandering around.
We're going to keep you under lock and key, future leader of the planet, and so you don't stub a toe or something."
So on the way to the quarters, they run into Wesley, who's struck dumb because there's a girl. It's like, oh my stars and garters. There's a teenage girl on the ship.
All the others have kind of vanished at some point, so this is a change of pace.
She's very impressed by Wesley's magnet, excited about everything because she's never been away from the planet and just read stuff.
It's like, holy crap, that's a magnet.
Yeah. It's like, oh my god, is that a magnet in your pocket?
Oh, it is.
Riker teases Wesley a bit about girls. He's very rare form this episode because Riker is just amazing. He's the best part of the episode. Completely awesome. No notes.
It's like, who is she? Oh, it's governess, I think. Great line.
So they get underway under impulse power because they need to be slow. The amount of distance they're going to be able to travel at sublight speeds while they're repairing the light speed engines is going to be so immaterial to their overall journey. They may as well just sit still.
Yeah, it's like, well, we've cut off a quarter of a second.
Yeah.
Well, then again, sometimes the impulse drive seems to be it can technically go FTL, but only if you keep it on for a week or so.
It seems to go FTL immediately because it takes them all of 5 minutes to get out of the solar system.
Yeah.
Which even going at full-on relativistic speeds should take you a couple of days.
It's like, oh yeah, we're finally cleared of the outermost planet of the system. We still got, a couple years to go.
So Troy's a bit concerned because their new guests' emotions don't match who they are, or what they are, or something. I don't know. Something's off, though.
Well, are they happy when they look happy? Is that the problem? That
That's
they're not?
very non-specific.
Yeah.
Picard reaches out to check on them. They're fine.
Okay.
Shut up. Go away. So now we get some backstory. Hooray. Celia is the child of people who are on two sides of civil war. Her planet is tidally locked, so they have no day-night cycle. One side's always facing the sun, one side's always facing the not sun, and the two cultures have been in conflict for all of their recorded history, probably because one side is unlivable and the other side is differently unlivable.
Yes. So, sounds like their planet sucks, just like the planet they left.
She is supposed to bridge the gap and bring peace. This should be a clue that these people are not humanoid, because in theory you would have a very, very narrow strip of livable area on a tidally locked planet.
Yes.
You wouldn't be able to have the light side and the dark side, and it binds the universe together or whatnot.
Yeah. Well, I guess there is room for some exceptions, like if you are very far away from the sun, you could have the light side, just being able to sort of, have its heat convect away to the dark side of the planet, so the one side is livable but not the other side. Or the inverse, you have it very close to the sun, and so you get the sort of superheated air from the light side coming around and keeping you warm on the dark side. But generally the tidally locked means just along the twilight zone.
Or the dark side is filled with volcanic vents and they all live off of the geothermal heat, like those deep ocean critters.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, but they don't have enough aliens that live off geothermal energy.
We had the Horta there, but they were just like, we live off rocks, not, so geology, not geothermal.
Yeah. It's pretty unusual, but we do have a small subset of animals on Earth that don't use solar energy in any capacity.
Here's a picture of something from a deep sea vent. This thing, has no eyes, and so we can flash as much light as we like at it until it gets a sunburn, because it won't know what's going on.
So Sleia's in her room with a teenage girl who we've never seen before, and is talking about being a leader, bringing peace, etc. The girl then turns into a small fuzzy creature that clicks and gives her a hug.
Ewok.
Yeah. It's your best friend, the Ewok, who turns into a hot teen girl.
Keep it away from Wesley. Things might get weird.
So in engineering, Wesley's distracted. He's not doing his work well. LaForge has to chastise him multiple times, including almost blowing up something.
Oh no, that's the oh crap alarm. Wesley, get out of here.
Yeah, LaForge decides that Wesley is too hormonal to be useful, so he should just go to talk to girls instead of blowing up the warp core.
We don't want to die because you were kind of, in the mood.
Now, Wesley seeks advice from the crew about how to talk to women.
A glorious montage begins.
Worf screams, women scream and throw things, and the men read poetry. Klingon men read poetry while women throw things at them.
He ducks a lot.
Data suggests that they are probably biologically compatible life forms based on an initial survey of their general anatomy.
Cool.
And Riker demonstrates flirting with Guinan until Wesley's told to just go away.
Yeah, it's like, we've started flirting, and now we're seeing where this is going. Get out of here.
Picard offers another tour of the ship. Anya takes it, with Worf leaving Celia alone. Anya takes everything super seriously. She's angry LaForge is doing repairs because the repairs have a small amount of danger of going wrong. She's really intense about it.
Pions could be dangerous. Well, they're not likely to show up, and also, your room's not next to the warp core, lady. Come on.
So they're wandering around. She's being intense. Back at the quarters, Stella finds Wesley creeping around outside and goes, I need help with the food thingy, so you should come into my room.
Okay.
He teaches her how to yell at the wall.
See, in our culture, we yell at the wall, not each other.
I just think, how does the food dispenser work? It's like, well, you walk up to the wall and you yell food.
Computer, give me the food. Are you ready for the food? Yes.
They talk about all the things that he's seen and places he's gone and stuff. She goes, oh, I want to see the universe. And then he starts dragging her off somewhere.
Well, that whole stay inside and not go out and plan is kind of falling apart.
A little bit.
How's Anya doing?
So Anya's in sickbay. She and Worf arrive on the tour. Pulaski's treating a crewman who has a mild infection, but it's contagious, and Anya demands that he be killed to prevent the infection from reaching Celia.
Well, no. It's just treatable, you know. That means, it's probably treatable for her, too. What's going on?
Pulaski refuses. Anya turns into a giant fuck-off bear.
Suddenly we have a Wookiee, not an Ewok.
Yeah, it's a huge thing with claws and stuff, and goes to maul the dude to death. Worf wrestles her away while Pulaski calls for security. Picard shows up, and Anya calms down and turns into a human again.
Now, I will note that Anya's sort of yelling and screaming was a little bit like what Worf had been demonstrating earlier.
Yeah?
Yeah.
He wasn't reading any
Romances in the
poetry,
air.
though.
Yeah. Well, he was kind of being choked at the time. He couldn't really read the poetry.
If you can't read the poetry while being choked, I mean, it's not going to work out. Picard orders Anya to go back to her quarters and please be human for the remainder of the trip.
Yeah, that kind of freaked us out, and we're afraid of you, but, we're still trying to be polite here, but, don't do that, come on.
Pulaski's read about species called elastomorphs that can change their molecular structure at will.
Cool. Do we need to, worry about these sort of things where maybe they're, infiltrating our society and, trying to have us, bow down to them like gods at some point?
I don't know. I'm sure this is the 4th or 5th time we'll forget they exist before DS9 makes a big deal about it.
Though I will, argue that generally the changelings of DS9 are apparently able to also change their size dramatically, and most of the others can't imitate non-living entities.
Yeah, as far
generally,
as we see, generally.
Yeah.
So now we're on the holodeck. Wesley's showing Celia various planetscapes. She's impressed because she won't get to travel and do stuff because, she's going to be in charge of a planet.
Well, maybe you can take everyone on your planet on vacation somewhere.
Worf and Anya have a stare down when she returns to the quarters because they're threatening each other. It's like, I would win in a fight. I would win in a fight. I guess we'll have to find out someday.
Yeah.
And she goes inside, goes, what the fuck? Calls Picard and goes, hey, Celia's gone.
Well, where'd you put her? Did you put me in the wrong room? What's going on? Come on.
Celia is in 10 forward where Wesley's giving her chocolate. Guiana's being a little too complicit in this interaction. Celia talks about how she doesn't want to be trapped in a leadership role, but she can't. She has to stay on her planet, but she wants to really explore and leave with Wesley and stuff. Wesley says she could stay, and she gets upset and runs away.
Well, maybe, Wesley, you should have suggested that she reform the system there away from monarchy so that she can enter early retirement once things chilled out.
Yeah, I think you should get yourself in a position where you get voted off.
It's like, sweet, I can leave. Bye.
After she runs away, Guinan goes, hey, you should chase her, because Guinan does not respect women's boundaries, apparently.
Yeah, Guinan, maybe she's still just kind of all flustered from Riker earlier. I don't know what's going on with her.
Wesley wants to know what's happening. Celia's upset about how his life is so amazing. But they can't talk because Anya and Picard come around the corner and tell Wesley to back the fuck off.
Yeah, Wesley, if you don't chill out here and go away, you might just get, ripped in half. So just FYI.
So the Forge finishes his work on the engines. They can now get underway properly. They'll be at their destination in a few hours. Picard talks to Wesley about how he'd normally leave all this alone because crewmen's personal lives and all that. But, this could start a war. So probably don't do that.
Yeah, Wesley, you need to be a little chill on this here. So, but I guess if you do want to get in a weird relationship that does cause a war, maybe also don't be doing it with there's a threat of, very easy death for you on the
yeah, you're gonna get ripped in half, dude. So they arrive at the planet. It's got the same hostile environment as the one that they left, and they can't communicate because of that. So much interference and stuff, so all they can do is wait. Wesley's back in his quarters, just sulking. But Celia snuck out to see him, came to make out, and they do until Anya shows up in monster mode. Celia then turns into a different monster, and they sort of tear at each other until they both return to human form.
Yeah, so apparently they're generally immune to each other in this form, I guess. I guess the fighting on their planet isn't that actually
So-
harmful then. Wait, why are we
Yeah.
doing this?
I don't know. They just randomly sort of bat at each other until they stop. Yeah. So the planet sends down beam down instructions and stuff. So it's about time to go. So Leia prepares to leave. Anya goes, "Okay, I'm not going with you. Bye. I live on the moon."
I am a moon person. Goodbye.
That was her home before, and she's going to go back. So, good luck with all the war.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I might have, sort of treated you as my own daughter here and been, very emotionally connected to you. But, yeah, we're never going to see each
So
other
Worf
again.
takes Anya to the transporter, where they talk about how much they respect each other and how it'd be fun to see who could rip whose throat out.
Yeah. But maybe we'll be in a battle on the same side someday. That'll be cool, too.
So Leia comes to see Wesley, and he's an absolute ass. She was just playing humanoid. Can you even have emotions? You weren't what you look like. Oh my god.
I'm so shallow right now that I just can't.
So she leaves, goes, okay, time to beam down all sad, and then Wesley suddenly shows up with chocolate. He's like, hey, sorry, I was an ass, here's some ice cream.
Yeah, I'm not that shallow now,
Yeah.
right? So show me what
Then
you got.
she wants him to leave because she needs to become her true form to beam down. And he's like, that's okay. I'm not going to be weird like before, I guess. And then she turns into a light glob.
All right, so you're some sort of
And
nightlight.
beams down to the planet. So Wesley doesn't have a problem with the glowing orb.
It's just giant, tear you in half monsters.
So then forward, Wesley is sulking. Guinan comes to talk to him and goes, this is normal. You'll fall in love again, probably. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Not like you're going to suddenly, phase to another plane of existence before you meet somebody.
Yeah.
That'd be weird, right? Right?
Yeah. Or you freeze time and then, go to far parts of the universe and then bend reality so that you end up in a 2-minute cameo someday.
We're just not going to address how is this blatantly the ass and completely wrong in this situation. It's like, pining.
It's like, well, I guess you're being a weird teenager and we're also in a TV show where we need to wrap up the plot here super quick. So, okay.
That was all. That's it. That's all. That's the thing.
Yeah. So the Dauphin, it's an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
It's pretty forgettable. Like the creatures are a little memorable, but why is this whole thing with Wesley? Why?
Before we get to that, I do want to say that my favorite parts of this episode were definitely Anya going around just being surly at everybody.
Like, what is this? Kill him before he infects. Which also, this doesn't make any sense. You're weird light beings. You could probably turn into that microbe.
You should be able to just generate a new immune system that does what it needs to, or completely different biology now because you are super changey.
Yeah, how is the orb of light going to be infected by a virus? One asks.
Yeah. Do you even need to breathe? I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah. So it's time to stop ignoring it.
Yeah, there's things. There's interpretations.
Oh no, you weren't what I thought you were, and thus I'm going to ignore all the emotions and interactions we've had up until this point because I'm being a shallow
This
ass.
is very much a probably not intentional. I'm not going to say that they intentionally wrote this in, but that part of the episode, which why did they even keep that in there? Why have that? Why have Wesley suddenly be like, you lied to me about who you are for 5 seconds and then immediately turn around and bring in ice cream and go, sorry, I was wrong.
Yeah, it's... there's a lot of other things going on in this episode, generally, that you didn't need this sudden twist and then twist back.
Yeah, it was
sort of
weird.
moment
It was
here.
just weird. And it was completely out of character. Also.
Yeah. It would have, I guess, made more sense. Okay, so he's, sort of in a weird, sort of reactions. I'm not sure what to make of this quite yet. And then sort of then immediately jump onto the, but I'm going to be the person I've always been up until this point, and try to understand what you are, as opposed to just freaking out.
So
like
of course, I'm gonna say again, probably unintentional. I'm not accusing people of shit. It's just an unfortunate thing that's always around in these old shows to one extent or another. This is an incredibly transphobic trope. This idea that who you were, what you used to look like, is so intrinsic to your identity that not revealing it to people is this major betrayal or lie that you're just foisting on them. You're like, this is a legitimate TERF talking point. It's this stupid thing they have about not revealing your previous identity. I can't even say it in a way that isn't transphobic because it's sort of tied up in this shit. But like, not revealing your like assigned birth sex is tantamount to non-consensual relationships because you didn't have all the available information and all this weird bullshit that they bring in.
So no one else people don't have all the information about when you first meet them and you start in a sort of a light dating sort of situation. Your complete life.
I know. So when you meet someone new for the first time, it's like, hi, my name is, at one point I was a baby. I am no longer a baby. Yep. I have gone through a hormonal life change that took me from being a prepubescent into an adult. The hormones had some effect on my body.
Yes.
As demonstrated here.
Now, I've grown. I've had various aspects about me change and evolve over time, and I want to go through every single one of those with you, so that you know that I'm being totally
on the level. At one point, I had at least 2 more teeth than I have now. Not before. Before, I had an entire mouthful of different teeth.
Yes. And they kind of fell out at various points, and it was kind of weird.
I understand if you would like to date someone with original teeth. I mean, I wouldn't, because that would be pedophilia, but...
Or alternatively, someone who had their baby teeth just kind of stick around somehow, and their adult teeth are there. That'd be weird.
I understand that you don't want me to be lying about my tooth anatomy. At some point, you might want to be near my mouth in various relationship capacities.
Yeah, and so I want to be totally honest that I used to have baby teeth.
At one point in my past, my eyes worked fine. Now they don't, and I need to wear a corrective prosthetic.
Yeah. So for some that will be like very obvious. Others, well, they got contact lenses. So it's like, yes, I have contact lenses. I want you to know that because I am being completely honest about everything, as demanded by people that have weird expectations for all this.
So, and this one so accidentally hits so much shit because I can look at this. I know why they made all these decisions. Like, they wanted some kind of conflict. They wanted to have like, oh, how would a shape changer interact with someone who stays the same shape all the time? What does he do when he finds out she's not a hot girl? Like, the finding out that they weren't always a hot girl or aren't always a hot girl, I guess in this case, is bad enough as that particular transphobic trope. The fact that it is way cheaper to make a large prosthetic costume out of fur makes it even worse because you're basically going from, look at this cute, hot 20-something-year-old girl to, oh my god, big, hairy, covered monster.
I do like Anya's big monster form better than Salia's, but I think they spend a little bit more time on the one over the other. But yes.
And now that one's obviously transphobic when you're dealing with someone who is a 20-something-year-old hot girl because of the hair thing. Though also we tell everyone in our society to remove copious amounts of hair.
Well, shave this part, shave that part, cut this bit, trim that, and if it's not perfectly sculpted, that means you are one of those ugly people, or you're even worse. You're some sort of social outcast, ruffian, or someone who is trying to make a weird statement that we don't agree with, but we're not going to explain what we don't agree with.
Yeah, that as well. So, like, this, if you wanted to be very charitable, then if you take the, I'm sure, unintentional transphobia of the episode and just put it into, like, your general sitcom tropes, then at absolute best, the thing you're working with here is that sitcom trope of dating a hot woman who at one point you see without makeup when they haven't, like, been able to do all of their stuff, and you go, oh my god, they are not perfect, and you freak the hell out, and then later you bring ice cream and they forgive you for being a shallow ass for some reason.
I guess the trope term, I guess, is, don't look at me without my face. It's like, what? It's like, oh, the makeup. Oh, it's not you. Okay, you all right.
I mean, I guess in this case it's literal. At the end, she goes, "I don't want you to see me without my face."
But I am going to be able to look at your face. Just it's
and the amount of non-consensual shit that they're doing in this episode. It's all like low key. It's that, like, oh, why are you complaining about this style stuff? But like Guinan's advice of chase after the woman who just ran from you crying.
No, she's unhappy with what you have been doing and what you're about. And yeah, don't be coming in, putting pressure on her. You'll give her some space, just trying to establish some boundaries. So
yeah, don't do that. And then later, at the end, when she says specifically, I want you to remember me like this because you previously freaked the fuck out when you found out I could shapeshift. And he goes, no, don't worry.
Yeah,
it's fine. I'm just going to stand here while you're on a timer to beam down to your homeworld, so you can't really, do much about me just standing here.
Yeah. So,
but it's sweet, though, right?
There's just so much crap here that just like, okay, so all this kind of comes out of various, awkward relationship stuff that, was is and is still heavy in TV productions, where we need to have a relationship, but we only have a guest star to have it with, so we have to speed run everything, and so we're going to shorten it using all these horrible tropes that are just crap, and yeah. So instead of, it's like, oh, she ran away, all right, I'm going to let her have her space, let her have her boundaries, and, I'll reach out later when, maybe we're both calmer and, sort of apologize and, maybe try to figure out a way to communicate better and, repair, patch things up that way. But no, we don't got time for that, so we're going to, like, oh, just run after her and she'll love you for it. That's not
What's
how it
odd
works.
is, why did they rush it? Because, like, I mean, literally what else happened in this episode? The entire episode was this relationship. You could have started it about 20 minutes earlier and had time to go through any of that instead of shoving the entire relationship conflict into literally the last 2 minutes of the episode.
Maybe have Wesley, discover she's a shape changer a lot earlier, and then he maybe has some freak out at the start because, like, oh, big scary monster. I'm sorry, but I'm having kind of some reactions to that. I might be about to be killed, sort of thing, and so then you can sort of work in that. It's like, all right, he has some bad reactions here, but he's trying to like overcome them, and we actually see him struggle with that. And then eventually succeed. And like, okay, so we can still make something work here. Oh, you have to go, though.
Yeah,
that sucks.
Like the character that we know, this like Federation explorer idealistic genius kid, the fact that he has this much of a problem with an alien looking different is insanely out of character for everything we've been shown.
Yes.
Like, it would be much more realistic for the character to have like them freak out about it, have her and the other and her steward freak out about it, because they don't think humans can accept this sort of thing, and have Wesley be the pinnacle of humanity that sees people for who they really are and their soul and all that shit.
Yeah, that whole content of your character sort of thing, as opposed to I'm scared of a big monster or a glowy person.
There was also a really good way to... They did a really good job with this in a strange way. One of the Discworld books has a character who is a werewolf, and she winds up in a relationship with one of the main characters in this particular series. And at one point, before she's decided to tell him that she's a werewolf, he, like, opens the curtains or something, lets the moonlight in. She transforms. He turns around. He didn't see the transformation. He turns around, suddenly sees a wolf in his room, freaks out a bit, and she runs. And then has this whole internal monologue of, oh my god, they always do this. They freak the hell out as soon as things. And then at some point they go through basically like, he apologizes for having a negative reaction, but also no one fucking expects to turn around and suddenly see a giant wolf in their room. So, like, it's an understandable, like, surprise reaction that both of them took a little too seriously, and then they talked about it.
Yes. Yeah, that's, the sort of, I guess, outcome I would like to see more of, honestly. It's like, oh, I was caught off guard.
That one's particularly weird and unrealistic, because you're not going to suddenly turn around and have the partner that you've been with suddenly transformed into a different person.
Yeah. It is unlikely to happen in reality, but you never know.
It is a slow process. It will take several months at least.
Yes. But what if you get frozen in time for several months? So, would you like to hear my alternative explanation about what's actually going on?
Yeah, what was your alternative explanation that saves us from having to talk about this too much more?
All right, so Wesley is someone who has been flying around on the Enterprise for a while, and we have encountered aliens of various sorts and various different sort of value systems, and to one of the things he needs to sort of learn in all of that different aliens might have very different perspectives on the world than you or I, and so there could be an interpretation where he views the situation not as I'm rejecting you for being different and having different forms and different realities about you. I'm rejecting you because I don't know what your intentions are, and I need to figure out what those are first before I can actually trust you. I know it's kind of a crap thing, but yeah.
Yeah, except he directly says blatantly xenophobic shit.
And I guess to continue with my sort of alternative view here is that that xenophobic nonsense is very much a he's a young kid and doesn't quite know how to deal with this sort of particular situation anymore, and he really should have from the very beginning been skeptical about this alien being's sort of intentions with him, and so this sort of reaction is in some ways him realizing, oh, I've been an idiot, but I'm lashing out at someone else instead of trying to sort out my own crap.
You're really giving him a lot of credit in there.
Yeah. So I say it's not a good alternative, but I think
the fact that he just comes out and says, "Can you even have emotions?"
He doesn't know, honestly. It is a little absurd given that Data's like the only being we've run into that doesn't. So, like even the Silicon life forms from home soil are like, yeah, we can experience fear. Yeah, so we have emotions. So stop trying to kill us.
It's that good old misinterpretation of the Turing test. That you're not trying to prove whether something is sentient or has emotions, because that's impossible. You're saying if the way that you interact with me seems sentient and emotional, that's close enough. We don't need to prove it definitively.
Indeed, we just recently had an episode where that was sort of a thing that, we can't prove it definitively, so deal with it. So Wesley, you are either messed up in one way or another, and you need to get over yourself here, though we could just blame the writers.
The one thing that I absolutely hate in this era of TV writing, especially for women, is the complete and utter lack of agency that they give her in the resolution of the conflict.
It's like, Wesley is angry, and now he's not.
He comes in, he says, I'm sorry, I didn't realize what a dick I was being somehow. Here's some ice cream. And because we need to resolve the episode in a happy way for him, it would be a lot better. It would be a lot better of a life lesson even, instead of the ending of like, don't worry, teenagers, you'll fall in love again. If it was, you fucked up, and you should learn from this experience.
Yeah, I would have preferred that sort of end there. It's like, Wesley, you're going to remember this now, and maybe if we want to bring up continuity when he's involved in a relationship down the road, we could have him sort of allude to this. And it's like, I fell in love with once, but I messed up, and I had to learn from it.
I think it'd be much better to have more. Yeah. This is an underrepresented thing in relationships on television of any era. It'd be very useful to demonstrate that, yes, especially in these very early stages of a relationship, you can indeed fuck it up beyond repair. And the fact that you can't immediately fix it and have that be a relationship that you wanted despite you fucking it up that badly, like, that's normal, and you need to get used to that as a possibility, instead of, you could bring someone ice cream and all will be instantly forgiven.
Yes. So, maybe there is another sort of an interpretation here that she was just humoring him.
That's
at the
fair.
end.
She says, I'm never going to see this kid again.
Yeah. I can have a smile on my face because, this isn't a form I usually take on, so I can play act however I like. And he has already accused me of lying, so might as well at this point. So, I'll be nice to you.
Yeah, this
Bye.
is her first act of bullshitting people as the new queen or whatever her title is. Like, yes, I'm being very diplomatic.
Yeah. That might have been a different way to rework the entire episode, is that, instead of sort of being focused on Wesley having relationship, issues where he doesn't know how not to be an ass about it, have it that, she's, sure on one side trying to be, indulging all these sort of, universe experiences that he's, can talk to her and show her and all that sort of thing, but is also very interested in, it's like, I've not really interacted with people other than Anya. So it would be kind of nice to have any practice whatsoever in, say convincing someone of something. So, Wesley, could you help me out here? All right. So I want you to do this. And it's like, well, I don't want to do that. That sounds lame. And you're like, well, maybe, I want to try to convince you how to, that this is a good idea. Like, all right, give it a shot. And she has one shot at it, and then she tries a different tactic. And maybe by the third time, it's like, okay, that one's actually kind of reasonable, but you should have really led all of that sort of thing. And, sort of had a everyone's learning sort of stuff. And, Star Trek's pretty cool when it does that, where, we don't necessarily understand each other very well, but sometimes if we're willing to, reach out and work together, we can come up with something, good for all of us.
Yeah, you aren't really going to, show them understanding each other's culture or interacting well or anything. They do this 6 or 7 times in different guises. They've never handled it particularly well. And they could. that this is essentially a like a soft reboot of the original series Eldritch Creatures episode, where they gave them so much human stuff that they basically were able to become too drunk to take over.
Yes. What is this? It's green.
So this one was more of the emotional joys of suddenly being a human teenager.
Mm-hmm.
Which you could do. You could do something. You could have her interacting with it in a strange way that slowly makes sense over time when you figure out that she's not actually a human teenager. And this is a completely novel experience for her, right down to the way of interacting with the world in a body.
Like, oh, I can pick things up. Weird.
But, other than that, other than completely rewriting the episode, there's absolutely no reason for this episode to exist. The whole plot of Wesley falls in love they don't do anything with it. It's just there, but it's also the only thing happening in the entire episode. They barely even have a side plot in this one.
Well, maybe another way to rework this one would be actually to cut out Wesley and Salia's, relationship entirely, and then have it actually be about Anya getting more and more surly as she goes.
She and Worf fall in love,
and then they have a good moment, and then there's a relationship there instead.
So instead of they ask what species they are. Celia shows up as human. Anya shows up in a complete face shroud. Then later, after she's had a look around and determined who the best person to be would be, she shows up as a Klingon female.
Dun dun dun. And then Worf's like, I'm surprised. I thought you would be look the same. There's so much about
and then you turn their whole then you can do both, because then you can keep the stupid relationship but make that more of the side story of Wesley, and he and Worf are going through the thing at the same time, and you see the difference in cultures and ways of approaching relationships.
And, as Worf put it, Wesley would beg like a human, and eventually Worf would have to dodge something.
You could have Wesley freak out when they figure out the shape-shifting thing, and Worf have a big speech about the heart of a warrior.
Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, I'm going to show you all that I am now, and I can't change my form here, but I'm going to talk about Klingon things. And
he's fallen in love with the heart of a warrior instead of with the physical appearance.
Exactly.
Etc.
And you are a true warrior, and I love that about you. Let's spend some time.
And then he and Wesley could have done something interesting. So yeah, you could just add. But anyway, this is a stupid trash episode that brings in unintentional but not entirely unintentional transphobia, because it was the 80s.
Yes. So if you fall in love with somebody, folks, remember you fell in love with them. Yeah, that's it, your heart led you there. Be cool with it.
Yeah, stop being a dick. And ice cream doesn't fix anything.
Yes. Though I guess maybe the number of times ice cream shows up in the series from this point onward, maybe their ice cream's laced with something.
Yeah, chocolate is not chocolate anymore. At some point in the future, they bred the cocoa beans to be heroin.
Yes.
That is why Troy is so obsessed with chocolate.
Also known as midichlorians. Yes. Our chocolate on the Enterprise always seems to taste weird. I always get these weird, intense shakes and cravings later. It's very strange.
That's why half of her character is chocolate.
Yeah. And especially in the early seasons, the other half of her character is, I'm going to be kind of spacey about emotions.
Yeah.
She gets more character later, but yeah.
Eventually. I think we might have...
Dang it, writers, why you couldn't... Yeah.
I think we might have plumbed the depths, the incredibly, incredibly shallow depths of this one.
So I guess it's time for us to start admitting some pions, right?
Yeah. It's also time for us to go to the Galaxy's favorite game show!
Woo! Hey everybody, welcome to the Galaxy's favorite game show. We got a number of contestants here that have racked up quite the body count. I mean, a number of points here. So let's get rolling. The first prize is the Hide Your Power Level prize, which goes to Anya for hiding just how powerful she is until it's time to kill Worf. What does she win?
I don't know what it's called because I haven't engaged in Dragon Ball Z Beyond memes. But she gets one of those little eyepiece things that reads your power level, so she can give it to Worf.
Scouter.
And go, how powerful am I?
Something around, there's a 9 involved, I think, here, but everyone else knows that the meme is, so let's skip that and get to the courtship.
For most of my childhood, that was my entire knowledge of Dragon Ball Z, was the clip of the one guy going, rah, and somebody goes, oh, and then rah, and it's okay. Why do people watch this?
Because people beating each other up? Yeah, I used to watch it when I was young, but yes. The second prize is the Berserker Button prize, which goes to Salia for hulking out, but only when Wesley is threatened. What does she win?
Oh God, I just realized you could also make it a PMS metaphor. Because she gets fixed with chocolate. Jesus. Anyway.
Yeah, let's get back to the prizes here, hopefully.
She wins some nice bows and a comb and stuff, because apparently the main problem is she needed to have like a bow in her hair so you could recognize that the big fuck-off bear monster was still a girl.
Then Wesley wouldn't have been so awkward and pissed off.
You could make it pink.
Yes. The third prize is the TV Love Story prize, which goes to Wesley for having crushed the most awful TV way possible, including just taking away all agency from his crush. What does he?
The only natural evolution of this, as far as Wesley's concerned, is to just turn into a harem anime. Wesley is just on a ship surrounded by anime girls who are obsessed with him, and he's just this clueless about all of it. That's the only place this can go, really.
Tenchi Wesley. I think I could see it, actually. But I kind of don't want to, actually. Anyway, our last prize is the Surprise Ship Prize, which goes to Riker and Guinan, because we're not talking spaceships here. But it works, though, kind of, What do they win, Gepwin?
They win. We're going to Riker's room because, we all know she doesn't want a random white dude living in her house.
But Riker's A-okay with having his place be a love shack. Bang, bang, bang on the door, baby. Talk, talk. Anyway, take us away, Gepwin, before
there's no
more.
Let's okay, Galaxy's favorite game show. Get us out of here.
Woo! That was a close one. Yeah.
There was singing.
So, are we going on to more Star Trek?
I know, because we do this arbitrary thing where every now and then we do a movie to keep ourselves sane, create Google search engagement, give people a place to listen to episodes so they don't feel like they have to have listened to 200 episodes before. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Ramp on
yeah,
points,
all that great stuff. This time it's my turn to pick. I've been given some mulling over some possibilities. I think that because it kind of had like a bit of an anniversary recently. It wasn't appreciated well at the time. I think what I'm going to go with is the 2012 action sci-fi movie Dredd, based on the Judge Dredd comics.
I'd like to get to see that in one sitting myself. I've seen it almost entirely, but in like 3 or 4 sittings.
It is very good. This is one that I will definitely give a bit of a preface warning to. This is a quite intensely violent movie. It is not shying away from any of the stuff that they have had in this series. Like Dredd is Judge Dredd is a violent comic book, and they do not do anything less than what they do in the comic books. It's very stylized. Yes. So, it's really, really stylized and has some interesting stuff, but do have a warning. It has an R rating for a good reason.
It's all the blood and violence and explosions and oh gosh, we've been shot a lot.
But this is my excuse to be able to talk about Judge Dredd, which is a comic series that I very much like and enjoy and have for a long time, without having to watch Sylvester Stallone play Dredd in the 90s version.
Yes, which I do have a soft spot for that version myself. So don't judge me too harshly for it.
That is sci-fi camp. That is the campiest sci-fi movie I've ever seen. He's got golden leather shoulder pads. The man works it. It is like the epitome. If Judge Dredd was drag, it would be the 90s version of Judge Dredd. Mm-hmm. Like, this is the campiest sci-fi movie in existence, but it's not good.
Nope, it's not good. It's like, all right, so we got a plucky sidekick and Judge Dredd doing stuff, and we got some bad guy stuff going on, and there's a robot, I guess.
There's a murder bot.
And there's also, murder bot and stuff at the wastelands, and we meet that guy that left early on, and and then it all gets resolved. Also, there's a Statue of Liberty, and they're like set up there.
Yeah, it's insane.
So we're not covering that version.
No, we're covering the other version that has Carl Urban in it as Judge Dredd, the one where he doesn't take off his helmet, because you don't take off your helmet.
Yes. It is an important symbol.
So anyway, it's people know. We'll go over more based on it's a fascinating perspective on American politics, because it is a British sci-fi pulp series lampooning American justice politics.
Yes, and there's a lot to lampoon.
So it's interesting, and the 2012 version was very well done and didn't get any of the attention that it deserved. It's been like 10 years out since they released the thing, so it's time that people have started talking about it again.
Yes. Let's do
next
this.
time with extreme violence. Don't watch it with kids.
Don't watch it with us.
So Dredd next time. Go judge, jury, and executioner, etc.
Next time on Watchers of Tomorrow, Gepwin is the law. You have been listening to Watchers of Tomorrow, a podcast on science fiction media. Find and follow Watchers of Tomorrow on Podbean, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, Spreader, Digital Podcast, and perhaps many more to come. If you enjoy our podcast, make sure to subscribe for more. And where possible, make sure to rate your experience or leave us a review. You may find Gepwin on youtube.com/Gepwin and Twitter @Gepwin. You may find me, Dr. Isix, on youtube.com/Dr. Isix and Twitter @IsixLP. Music is Waveform and Mori's Principle, both by DRKRN. You can also check out the Watchers of Tomorrow Discord channel. Make sure to share the experience with your friends, family, enemies, and alien overlords. If you feel you are suffering from transporter syndrome, please be aware that the next time you step off the transporter, that you that is now no longer exists.